Happy Friday. This is John McEntyre Live. I'm John McEntyre, and I can't believe I said Happy Friday. Well, TGI Friday. This week flew by on me. And I was like, I really didn't, you sometimes you don't really understand what's going on till you say it out loud. And I was like, wow, I said Friday. It is Friday. But yeah, so getting ready for the weekend. And this is actually the last Friday of June. So we're getting ready for a new month. Um, so final Friday of June. And you know the routine. On Fridays, I share a book from my library, and I have a good one that's actually taken from a viewer from last week's book club. They mentioned an author that happens to be one of my favorite authors also. So I was like, yes, I'll share that book. But before we get started with the book, let's go into a few wallet wins here. Um, this actually was triggered from yesterday's show. I'm talking to my son and his wife about my financial future and retirement, since I'll be retiring within the next 5 years. So that is a wallet win. Just the conversation itself is a wallet win to let everyone know. I'm glad to know that what we were talking about gave the confidence, to initiate the conversation. So that is wallet win. Wallet win number two, received a surprise check from the bank over fees. So I guess they were being reimbursed for overpaying on maybe some fees or whatever, because banks are notorious for doing that anyway. So that's a wallet win. That's more like a praise report. If I was one of those ministry type shows like a televangelist, I would probably hit the hallelujah button and just say hallelujah. Uh, but it's not that type of show. But well, but that is a good one because a lot of the banks are being called out because of excessive fees. Uh, there's maybe only one bank that's not in trouble right now, over excessive fees being charged. But it seems like every bank right now is in some type of a class action suit, looming on the horizon for you know over fees. And I'll say this: there is one Fifth Third Bank. I'm just going to put it out there because we're about being transparent here. Tell the truth. They were seriously notorious for, I mean, excessive fees. I mean, uh, I know I had one client who basically told him, you need to switch banks because he was late. His direct deposit was late, and he was charged almost like $60. And I mean, and it normally, it would do that midnight type thing, but every now and then computers don't communicate correctly. So over, I think, maybe 3 hours, $60, and I was like, man, that's crazy. I said, that's overly excessive. That's uh, that's just wrong. If you ask me, it's just wrong. I mean, because we one of the banks we bank with, they have the grace period thing. Something happened, it won't charge you an excessive fee, or some banks they give you what two where maybe your account, um, something doesn't happen right or whatever. They give you two to where, okay, we won't charge you or whatever. So yeah, um, but yeah, with that the fifth third thing, that was very disappointing. Um, wallet win number three. This is actually a client reduced grocery bill by $100 by buying store brands. So basically, what we just did, it was a challenge just to see what areas could you save money, um, and she's being a smart shopper. She was like, I was just going through the grocery store, and it was just habitual grabbing certain products, certain brands. It's just what I've always done. And so I told her, I said, when you're shopping, and I've said it on the show, and everything is part of our coaching is the core of our coaching is being intentional. So everything that you do, be intentional about it now. And she said, so I was being an intentional shopper, and I started questioning, okay, so why am I buying this brand? And it was like, it's just a brand that I've always bought. My mom bought it and all of that. And like I say, that we talked about scripts a long time ago. Um, well, last month we talked about scripts, and it was just a script. Mom bought this, and she was like, buy this product. Whenever I would shop for her, she was like, when I shop for her, she wanted this product. So it's just a product I always picked up. She said, so I just tried the store brand, and she was like, personally, the store brand is better and it's cheaper. So she saw the savings, and she was like, okay, that's an area that I can really maybe find some benefits in being intentional the quickest, get some quick wins. And so her first month grocery bill went down by $100. Wallet win. Serious wallet win. So now she like, I'm just imagining how I can reduce it even more this next month. So I'm like, hey, and share those tips. Go on social media and share them with the viewers, and the people that we're interacting with on our social media. So there we go. 3 good wallet wins. Brave mother talking to the family, talking to her son and wife about a financial future. Um, Praise report, received a surprise check from the bank. And number 3, reduced grocery bill by $100 by buying store brands. So we have 3 good wallet wins for today. And before I move on, share your wallet wins or your questions. Put hashtag wallet win, put it in the chat box there, and we will see it. If you're watching by Facebook, do it in the comments. If you're watching YouTube, do it on the chat. Enter it in the chat. Make sure you put hashtag wallet wins. If it's a question, put a Q, capital Q, uppercase Q for people that type. So, and do that. We see it. We'll share it, and we'll make sure and acknowledge it during the program. All right. So we've taken care of the wallet wins. So we know that today, this is Friday, Book Club Friday, where I share a book from my library that's financial, personal development, success. And the reason why I share books across the board, in those different areas, because as you work on other parts of life, your financial life gets better. If you're doing it, if you're being intentional with it. And also, because a lot of times financial issues, they're the symptoms to something else. And so with our coaching, that's why we focus more on the person handling the money than the actual money. Because a lot of times the money issue can be taken care of if the person does some personal work. That's what happened personally with me, people around me. That's what I was taught, and it holds true to be that way. So today's book, like I say, it was last week. One of the viewers, he chimed in. He had a question, but then he said he want 2 of his favorite authors. And I was showing one of the books. It was Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And then the other author that he mentioned was Maxwell Maltz. And he happens to be a favorite of mine. And he wrote this book, Psycho-Cybernetics. This is, if I had, when I name top 5, this is in my top 5. This is definitely in the top 5. It's been around. This book has been around a long time. It's been updated quite a few times. It's in a lot of languages around the world. It's a very popular book. And basically the core of the book is that your mind-body connection is what controls your life. And a little history with the author. He was actually, this was in the 40s and 50s. He wrote this book. He wrote the the first edition in 1960. Excuse me. And he was a cosmetic surgeon, um, and a very successful and popular, like in New York and in Manhattan. So he did a lot of cosmetic surgery. So, but what he was noticing is that no matter how good the work was done, some people still saw themselves as unattractive. He said he was doing some excellent work, and I mean, this guy was an award-winning, consultant. He consulted around the world. Um, went to different countries, worked on very famous people, kings and queens, everything, big business people, movie stars. He was the go-to guy of his time as a surgeon. And so he was like, he started to notice with some of his patients, no matter how great the work he had done, they still, some of them would even question, you didn't do anything. They couldn't even see the work. And so he was like, so what is this about? And so, one of the big trade shows, big conferences, with all of the different, people in medicine, the surgeons, the psychiatrists, and all of this. So he was talking, and at that time, self-image psychology was coming on the scene. So you had some of the popular, world-renowned psychologists talking about uh, no matter what's going on no matter what's being said about a person, no matter if the people think they're beautiful, no matter what, it's what they think of themselves that carries the most weight. It's how they see themselves, their self-image, self-concept. And so that's when he implemented into his practice. He said, so he would start talking to the people even before surgery, part of the initial consultation. He would just have a few of his questions were more about how the person saw themselves. Because he realized no matter how good his work was, if the people didn't see themselves as beautiful in the beginning, it really wouldn't matter. So the people that it worked best for were the people who were really looking for a change, and was saying, this is how I wanted to look. And he, would stress to them, well, this doesn't really increase your value as a person. It's just going to change your looks and all this, but you're still, as a child of God, you're a valuable person no matter how you look. And he said, so one of the other things that he would also do was the people who had high confidence, he really didn't do anything, because he picked up like they're already confident anyway. And he was like, I didn't charge them the money and all of this, that, and the other. He said, because once he would like go through the entire procedure, and then say, okay, well, I really didn't have to do much, this, that, and the other. And they were like ecstatic, they were happy, impressed. Oh yeah, you did great work. And he was like, I didn't do anything. So it was really the placebo effect, what they call the placebo effect. And he said that he'd heard about it in medicine. Someone think that they're sick, they were giving them like sugar pills, something like that. And it was their belief that was making them better. He said, so over here, it was the person's belief. He said, even in him as a surgeon, their belief in him as a surgeon and his work sometimes was enough to actually cause change. And so that's when he got serious. And once he retired from surgery, he went on the speaking circuit teaching about this. He wrote Psycho-Cybernetics, and it's all in there. And like I say, he said that the and also the title of the book, where does cybernetics come from? Because me personally, when the book was recommended to me by my sales trainer in real estate, and had not it been for that, I probably wouldn't have read it. It might have been probably would have taken a long time before I actually read it, because of just the title of it. And so cybernetics is actually a computer technology term, old technology term. And it was first used in World War II with ships using missiles, guided missiles. he was like, the body is basically the same technology as the brain and the nervous system. And with the missiles, like a battleship, they would launch a missile, and the missile doesn't travel in a straight line. It's constantly correcting. It's like overcorrecting, and eventually it does hit its target. So it's going. If it goes too far, it knows the target. The target's in front of it. It knows the target, and so with it, if it got too far off, computer program kicked in and would cause it to correct. So with it correcting, it would kind of overcorrect. Then it would say, okay, you're going too far to the left, and then it would do that. And he said that's where he noticed with babies, like when we're babies, and the baby, when it's first, pushing up and it's wanting to reach for something, it never just picks up something like that, like this pins here. It never picks up anything like that. Basically, if you'll notice, and I noticed that I remember I read the book, so I was watching Bella one day, and she was trying to reach for something, and she was like, get beside it, and finally, when she got her hands on it, she would grab it. But I was like, okay, that's what it's talking about. We're constantly moving through life. We're constantly correcting, course correcting. We may get a little too far this way. We may get a little too far that way. And so we're constantly correcting. And that's where cybernetics came from, guided missiles. It was actually programmed, and that's what it would do. So it looked like it's basically zigzagging, and that's what it is. It's correcting itself. So it said, so basically that's what we're made of we're either programmed for success or failure through our nervous system, which is controlled by our imagination. And so how we imagine ourselves to be, how we imagine things around us, is basically it causes our nervous system, causes us to behave a certain way. And you've heard that person say, I'm not a people person. For instance, this is an example. I'm just not a people person. I just don't get along with people. Well, I just saw you laughing and talking with your family and your friends. Well, that's family and friends, but they're people. If you can get along with them, you can get along with anyone. It's just that their nervous system kicked in. Maybe it's something that happened in their past. Maybe they were rejected, maybe bullied, picked on, or something like that. And those friends and family were their safe place where they can be themselves. So they become they're like a different person in public or with, strangers or something, because that's their defense mechanism. It's their mechanism of the nervous system that makes them do that way, behave that way. So your imagination controls it. So the way to change it is through self-talk. You do self-talk, because that's basically what your imagination, when you have a thought, it's actually words and pictures. You do hear words, and you put a picture. If I say, a bear, what do you see? A bear. Now, if I say a polar bear, then you see a big white bear. If I say a grizzly bear, you see a big brownish black bear. And so that's what you think in words and pictures at the same time. Every person does. So I started to see how this worked with money. Some people, I saw how it worked in real estate, especially in real estate. We got into areas. One of them was like with first-time buyers. A lot of times, first-time buyers, the younger ones, they sometimes bought a house that almost looked like the house that they grew up in. Some of them, it was even either in the neighborhood or next to the neighborhood. A lot of them, if a neighborhood was being built next to theirs, they would go over there and then they would start the process of, I want to live here because I've always lived here, things like that. And I've seen that plenty of times where walking around in his house, even though the house they grew up in was older, it was still like the same setup, maybe 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 2-story, or a ranch or something like that, big backyard, where they could put the same like things in the backyard and everything. It either went that way or it went the total extreme, the other direction where, I want it to always be in a bigger house, or I want me personally, I like condominiums and townhouses and things like that, because I'm not big on yard work. Because growing up, I had to mow lawns a lot, and I was like, when I grow up, I'm not going to mow a lawn. Now, when I do build my dream house, yeah, sure, but somebody will be paid to take care of it, like now. someone is take care of. I just don't want to do lawns. But there's a lot of people I've had, having conversations with them. They would like a lot of time buy a house that was sort of similar to what they grew up in. On the not so good side, I noticed sometimes people were going into foreclosures. Um, they would say, I had talked to quite a few people that was, was talking to them about foreclosure before the foreclosure process happened. Well, I'm really not surprised. I remember, this happened when I was younger. Okay, so why do you have to go through foreclosure because you went through it younger? You didn't go through foreclosure. It was your parents or whoever you lived with that went through foreclosure. You didn't. So maybe they just didn't see themselves as a homeowner. And so it was their self-image at work, in it with finances. A lot of people have gone into bankruptcies because of, a poor self-image. And I started to see that a lot. So now part of my coaching is I want to. That's why I have those conversations. What's important about money? What do you value it? How was you taught about money? Was there a lot of money? Was there always enough or not enough? Because that happens with people. They earn high incomes and still end up with not enough. I've coached those, matter of fact, like one of the first people that I coached, he was an attorney that had became a partner early, and his income, he came in, his income, he started out like 60,000. He made partner real quick, and it jumped up to like over 200,000 in no time. And it was like, it didn't take 6 months. He had bought all the toys, and he was like right back to where, when I was younger, we always had these financial problems. You're making a lot of money. You're bringing in close to over 20,000 a month. Would you guys have had problems with $20,000 a month at home? Well, no. I mean, $20,000 a month, we'd have been debt free. I was like, right. The average person back, when we were kids, they would have been debt free. $20,000 coming in a month. At that lifestyle, sure. So that's where it really came into play, and I started to really understand how much the self-image really affects all areas of life. And that's what this book taught. I mean, that was my main point of pulling out of it. How you see, that's the main point. How you see yourself is basically how you do certain things. So how you manage money, and that self-talk, that script. Well, I'm just not good with money. Okay, well, start seeing yourself being good with money. If you were good with money, how would you handle money? Well, I would budget, I would do this, I would save, I would make sure my investments. Okay, well, let's start taking those baby steps, which is one of the other points. Take those little small steps, those small actions towards changing. We're going to change the self-image, and then we're going to practice it outside. Because some people, like nervous, the brain and nervous system, and it causes, reactions in the body. Some people have even said, I get nervous when I get bills in the mail. So, they have a stack of unopened bills is because they just felt anxiety just seeing them. So they would kind of, they would like get away from them. It was their way of getting away from them. And so that's what that's what I learned from this book. It helped me, business, sales, everything. Like they say, is in sales, for instance, it's not how the potential customer or client thinks and behaves. It's how the business person, the salesperson thinks and behaves. Because the people, they don't see you as a salesperson through their eyes. They see you through your eyes, how you're behaving and acting and thinking. If you don't act confident, they're not going to treat you confident. They're not going to have confidence in you. And so that's what, those types of things. That's why I say it was presented to me from a sales trainer. And she really worked with us. She didn't go that deep, but it was enough to make me start reading the book, and I understood where a lot of things came from. So a lot of times, a lot of these financial issues or lack of or whatever could be your self-concept at work, and you need to get to work on changing it. And this book would definitely help you do that. See, I've talked a long time about this book because that's just how much it's done for me. And that's maybe the first 3 pages So that's just how valuable this book is. So it really is a good book to pick up. So it's Maxwell Maltz Psycho-Cybernetics. So good book. Put it in your library. Now, before we start the weekend, the question of the day is, how do you see yourself? It's a question of the day, and it should be a question you ask yourself each morning. One of the questions. What do I need to do today? How do I see myself? And that's my question. How do you see yourself? Sit down, because if you do that exercise seriously, seriously do it, you're going to write a lot. You will write a lot, because you see every role that you play in life, you do have an image. Have your image as a husband, as a wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, money manager, an investor, a business person, an employee, aunt, uncle, whatever. There's an image controlling. So you have more than one, you have many images going on. So that's my question for today. How do you see yourself? And if right now things aren't going well, or they could be better, and you see yourself wanting to be better with your money, then give us a call, contact us through the website, johnmcentyre.com, and we will get you going in the right direction and help you move towards your goals. So we'll see you Monday. Oh yeah, I had an announcement. Probably Monday for maybe the next couple of weeks, I will be doing live in the evening. I will be doing the show actually in the evening. I'll make the announcement on what time it will be on Monday morning. So look for that. So until Monday morning, this is John McEntyre signing off.